Hi, I'm Luke Searveld. Welcome to another episode of Meet the Gaffer. Well, this is the third of 3 episodes about Cinegear 2019. I wish there would be more, but I really didn't have time to see much, and so we'll have to wait till next year. Anyway, we're going to talk about K5600 and their foray into LEDs. Trying to understand, here's a company that's been known for its HMIs. I have their smaller HMIs, the 400, 800, and I love them just as regular PARs or as Jolicos. They've just been workhorses for 20 plus years, right? So now here they're getting into LEDs, but we've been into LEDs for a while. Well, sometimes there's some value in not jumping in at the beginning. Maybe let some of the kinks get worked out. Well, here they're choosing to get in, and they've got a couple different configurations. So they've got the panel in a couple different sizes, and then they have like a PAR and a Fresnel. And when you think about it in terms of how K5600, like their Jokers, are set up, you have a head that doesn't have any controls in it. Doesn't even have on-off. It's just the head. And then you've got a head feeder, and it goes to a ballast. And the ballast has your on-off. It has whatever DMXable, different controls on the ballast. Well, the same approach has been used with the LEDs. So you have a really light fixture that's got no controls on it. It's just about rigging and putting softeners on or whatever it is. That's the unit. And then you have a cable, and they're using the same cables that they've been using with their Jokers. Same cables, and it goes to, well, it's like a ballast. It's like an AC adapter. It's like all the things that other manufacturers have had sort of a separate AC supply that connects to a controller, and then anyway, they put it all together. It's in a little box, and that's just like your ballast on an HMI. So the kind of flagship of the LED line, if you will, is the 1 foot by 4 foot panel, the slice. And then that comes in different sizes. I think there's 4 different sizes at the moment. You get sort of half the length, and then you can get half the length and half the width. And the largest panel is 300 watts, and then some of the smaller panels are 150 watts. Then there's also sort of a PAR light LED with a really small sort of chip.
This is why we can get a very narrow beam, and we can also use it like for the Fresnel unit to make a real Fresnel, because the light source is to be proportional to the size of the lens. So if you get a big light source and a small lens, will lose the effect of a Fresnel. Right. So the same deal here. You need to be able to play with the lenses as you would do with your HMI Joker. Mm-hmm. You need to have a very spotty beam, and then you can use the same. We're actually using the same lenses as we use for the Joker 400. Right. So the software will work as well. So you'll get the effect here. So this is tunable, very easy. You can go 600 or tungsten, and it will run from this one. It's all DMX, wireless DMX, or you can use the regular DMX input. There's a 48 DC input as well.
And then there's a Fresnel.
As I said, the fact that we have a small chip makes it available to have real shadows, nice shadows, and the Fresnel effect is like strong point in the hot spot in the center, a nice fall off to the edge. So it's using the same extension as the Joker system, so you can use this. Cool. And so you get really nice shadows. And you see the fall off.
And is that glass or is it?
It's glass, yeah. That's the same as we use on the 800 HMI unit. So you see, it's actually an 800 housing that we just extended for the heat management.
All this can be run by two different kinds of ballasts. So there's a 300 watt ballast and there's a 1200 watt ballast. So in terms of the 300 watt ballast, you can run a 300 watt panel, or a 300 watt Fresnel, or a 300 watt par, but you could also run two 150 watt panels. You can split into two, and the ballast is smart enough to know that there's two units connected, and you can dim and change the color on each of them separately.
So that would actually talk to here. There's a PCB in there, so we just know, it would know if there's one bulb with one bulb lamp or two lamps. Okay. And you can switch from one to the other, adjusting color and dimming.
Now with the 1200 watt ballast, you can put in 4 different units. Now, could you put in 8 if they were all 150? No. You run out of cabling inside, I guess. So when I think about these LEDs, I think in terms of kits. You would have 4 of the 300 watt panels, stack them together, you got a 1200 watt light, 4x4. You could have 2 panels, you could have a Fresnel, you could have a par, and you could run them all off the same ballast. And now you've got an interview kit that is very low wattage, has pretty good output, and it's Kelvin tunable, and it's even frequency tunable for high speed if that's the thing. Pretty compact, and there's some cool rigging options with baby pins that can slide wherever you want it, on the side or on the back.
So here you got something which is really flat and can really be stuck to a wall.
Now people are going to ask, hey, is there any color in this? Or like Kino, is it already in there and you just have to unlock it? No, actually that's something that can be updated in the firmware, sure, and the cables are all there, but the actual LEDs would have to be swapped out. So that's something that will come down the line, and then you can get your green, magenta, and all that kind of stuff. But as it is, it's just Kelvin tunable, and it's very straightforward. That's what most people need and want. People might be asking, okay, what do these things cost? Well, the pricing hasn't really been set yet. They're coming out in a few months. We'll know then. Here's some fun footage from Mole Richardson. And it'd be great to go down there, I don't know, maybe sometime later this year or next year, and put 20K, an old style tungsten 20K and a new style LED 20K, put them next to each other and see how they perform. Alan and I had a wonderful time hanging out with, I don't know, at one point it was probably 30, 40 people at the Meet the Gaffer in the Park event, and we had some fun with some questions, just sort of quiz questions, and we gave out swag, and then we took questions. It would have been nice to have microphones and be able to actually hear people, but you know what, it was a good time, and thank you to everybody who came out. Next year, maybe we can up the ante, have more of a Gaffer roundtable. That'd be fun. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. And just an aside, some people like to have all the controls, all the power, everything on the unit. So it's the smallest form factor, although it gets kind of big that way, but then they can't lose anything. Other people like to have it all separate. So you can have the ballast separate, you can have the power cable, you can have all that stuff separate so that if one thing goes bad, you can just replace that one thing. neither way is better than the other. They're just different. So that's just something to consider when you're looking at kits like this.